So right prior to 2008, I left that large company to help a small investment company start up. I was a manager from that firm. He had started a company after his non-compete was up, and he asked me to come join him. So I got to build now a company's infrastructure from the ground up. Instead of dealing with legacy stuff, like I started from zero,
Nice.
which I thought was really fascinating and cool that I could basically create this in my own image, so to speak.
So walk me, you had this, and we were in the green room, we were talking, and you talked about, you had this aha moment in 2003. Take me from that to 2008. So what was this aha moment, and where did Triada come from?
Yeah. So even I'll take a little bit step back before then. So when we were I was at the investment firm before I started Triada, the company I worked for, my first IT job starting in 95. We were acquired twice. So we became now part of a larger organization. It was about 5,000 employees at that point, whereas the original company was 200 employees just in New York. So 5,000 employees worldwide, IT headquarters out of Texas. At that point, I was running infrastructure for the group. Almost. I think I may have been the help desk manager. So we started, we were starting to connect into the internet. And so I started building out these beginnings of a security practice and program within the office. First firewall, first connection to email to pull down email, all these things we were kind of building along the way. So I was really intricately involved in that, and I did a lot of that work. And then when we got acquired by this other larger firm, I was involved in the new information security teams before it was called cybersecurity. So that was kind of like we were still learning what does cybersecurity or what does information security mean for an investment firm. It was very compliance focused, but we were also looking at, what do we do to protect ourselves from potential malicious attack. We started before. Now we have something called a common vulnerability database that we can look up CVs. Mm-hmm. These are numbers where we standardization. One of my colleagues in the company actually built a version of that for ourselves because that thing didn't exist yet. So we were collecting vulnerability information and keeping track of it. So we were in the middle of building a program. So fast forward 2003, we get a call early morning that there's a person got a pop-up on their computer. So one of my help desk technicians runs over to the desk to go see what's going on, get another call, another pop-up, another pop-up, another pop-up. So what was happening was there was a worm, which is basically a virus that can jump from machine to machine, moving its way through the network. And the virus would attack web servers. Now, why, if it was attacking web servers, why is it popping up on these computers? Well, there was a point of time that Microsoft was by default enabling web servers on desktops. Why? Lord knows, but that was what it was. And so, and because we didn't really know any better, it's not like we were going through like a hardening process, removing services that we didn't need and that kind of thing. All these computers were susceptible. And so this worm was just wrapping through. The good news was that it wasn't really doing any damage, but it was very quickly moving through the entire network. So within a couple of hours, we basically had to disconnect these computers from the network as they got infected so that we can clean them up, so we can contain what was happening. This was a code red virus. If you look up the code red virus, this is what was going on. The reason it was code red, it was the Mountain Dew had a new flavor called code red at the time. And I guess the virus writer really liked that flavor. And so he had that embedded in the code somewhere.
Oh my goodness.
So the code red, this fascinated me. It's like, A, why did somebody write this thing? And B, how did he figure this out? Like, why did he go through this? And how could we stop it? Like, these were the things that were kind of running through my head. And that was the aha moment. It's like, this is really interesting. This is really cool. I like this kind of Now we call it threat hunting, but it's, that aspect of kind of understanding why these things happen and how we can prevent it. And that kind of got me deeper into the cybersecurity track. So fast forward to 2008. So right prior to 2008, I left that large company to help a small investment company start up. I was a manager from that firm. He had started a company after his non-compete was up, and he asked me to come join him. So I got to build now a company's infrastructure from the ground up. Instead of dealing with legacy stuff, like I started from zero,
Nice.
which I thought was really fascinating and cool, that I could basically create this in my own image, so to speak. And so modern tools, modern solutions. And because I had, at that point with the larger firm, I had made a lot of connections in Silicon Valley with these emerging cybersecurity companies, because they were looking for investments. The investment groups would ask us for our feedback, our market viability. So I got involved with a lot of these companies. So there was one of those early ones was one that's, a couple that are pretty well known now. They've gotten the giant firms. Mm-hmm. But at that time they were scrappy. They just wanted to get businesses. They just wanted to get logos. And so I was able to get all this gear and software for cheap or nothing, because they just wanted to get it installed and be able to use it. So so FireEye was like one of those companies, and that was early on that we were able to get like one of their early appliances before they actually were just doing software, these really early appliances. And so it allowed me to play around with a lot of these things. So the negative of this is that that triggered my shiny object, right? Now that continued going forward, but then I had to pay for it.
Sure,
like at this point, I didn't have to pay for it, and I only had to do it for one small company. Whereas now doing it at a scale, it becomes a little bit different. Anyway, so when I left in 2008. I saw an opportunity with a couple other, with the crashing of the financial system, and a lot of folks were leaving the large investment companies and starting their own funds. Okay. They still needed help setting up. They still needed help with infrastructure. They still help with compliance, and as a result of that, needed help with cybersecurity. So we started basically at that point. That's when we spun out and started Triada, my wife and I, to kind of service these small funds that were starting out.
I see.
And that was the impotence. And that was kind of the genesis of what we were doing. But we didn't know what a managed service provider was or what we were supposed to be doing. We basically figured out, we were their outsourced IT department, and we were just building these little IT organizations within the firm, all run by me. Like I was splitting my time. You can call me like a fractional IT manager, and I would fractionally work around. And so that's how we built that. But I learned about our world and the tools that were available to us, fairly quickly through groups, industry groups like ASCII and what have you. And that's kind of how we built and started our company. So Triada was Triada means Trinity in Greek. And the reason why I picked a Greek word was that the Armenian word for Triada is Yerotutun, which would be really hard for most people to pronounce. Triada was a lot more easier for folks to grasp and solve. And so it was available. We kind of, and we launched on it, and that's kind of what we latched onto. And so that's been us since then. That's where it came from.
Wonderful. And your wife, obviously, you said your wife and I started Triada. So your wife was obviously standing with you and behind you on going out on your own or creating your own company.
Yeah, I couldn't have made. There was no way that I was going to be able to make this decision and move off without the complete support of my wife. I mean, if you look at where we were in our life, so 2008, we were, we had 4 kids at that point. My youngest was 4 years old. So 4, 8, 10, and 12. So 4 little kids.
Yeah.
About to enter probably the most expensive part of their lives. And I was like, and I was the sole breadwinner at that point. My wife obviously had her hands full with the 4 of them.
Sure. So
we didn't have so because of that, it had to be we had to be very, specific about what we were doing. But we knew that I could have at that point gone back to a larger corporation and I'm sure found employment, because there was no way a small company that only had 10, 15 employees would be able to afford somebody like us long term. So I could have done that. Or we could have said, all right, this is the time that we can actually build something, because we have this opportunity. We have this company that is asking for help, and there's another one around the corner. So these 3. Could we supplement? Can we create our income with these 3 companies? And we figured that we could, and said, all right, so this is now the start. This is the start of something. And she was very keen on a business that we could have that could provide a future for not only us, but potentially the next generation, our family. So this was a conscious decision by both of us to move forward. And without her, there was no way that this was going to happen, because she had to be an integral part of what we did. So that's,
No, it's wonderful that you had that kind of that relationship and that kind of support, supporting each other and doing that. Because I'm sure I'm just trying to remind myself, like, what was that conversation like? Going, hey, I think I'm going to do this thing. Like, you're crazy, or no, that's like a great idea. Let's do this, right? Even though it's scary as hell, And
my parents thought we were crazy. I mean, my mom and dad, who were my, if you want to call it business mentors at that point, they're like, yeah, why do you want to do this? Like, this is, have you seen what we've gone through running companies? Like, this is not, are you sure you want to do this? But we were pretty, I guess at that point, we were pretty convinced that we were not making ourselves any better off by working for somebody else, I guess, at that point. And I think we probably just needed to wait a little bit longer. It would have been fine, but it was definitely a more long-term kind of long-term decision. And maybe this is kind of an old world thinking a little bit, is that we're thinking about the people right behind us, not just ourselves in that sense.
Sure.
And so it's a little bit bigger than yourself. If we were thinking about just ourselves, sure, I could have stayed in corporate. I saw my friends that stayed in that company and then went to other companies that are doing really well for themselves. Not that I'm jealous, a little bit maybe, but that was the decision that they made. And so this was definitely something that we. And this is not an easy city to start and run a company with,
I could imagine.
I used to think like there was something, weird about. I mean, I think every area has its challenges, and I think whether you're in an area that is maybe less populated, you have that issue where. And people look at New York and say, oh, you can throw a rock and you hit a company that could be a potential customer. And that's true. There's also
a competitor beside them.
What's that?
A competitor beside it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're also hitting a competitor along while you're throwing that rock. So there are all of those things. And then, when it comes to talent, something that we haven't really talked about, it's not easy to find competitive talent when you have these large companies with very deep pockets hiring them too. You're offering a very unique experience that they wouldn't get at if they went to go work for Chase or Goldman Sachs or something like that. And that's kind of what we're trying to go for here.
Hi, I'm Marc Thomas, founder and CEO of Current Tech Solutions and Cyber Guardians. We know business owners like you want to focus on growing your company, not worrying about IT problems or security threats. That's where we come in. Our team uses AI to protect your business from cyber risks and keep everything running smoothly. If you're ready for peace of mind and a stronger future, reach out to us today. Let's secure and elevate your business together.